Hey there, guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's a pleasure having you with me here again today. And you would want to stay to the end of this tutorial because there's going to be a lot to learn and unlearn. You want to stick to the end of this video, guys. Now, for my first time viewers and first time subscribers, my name is Imose Signature, and I am a professional makeup artist based in Benin City, Nigeria. For today's look, I'm going to be showing you how we created the this beautiful look on the model. So I started off with hydrating. I applied a hydrating facial spray all over her face to bring in more hydration into the skin. Now that is always the first procedure that I always go in with. Now I found out that the more hydration the skin gets, the better you find it easier, or the easier you find it blending your complexion products, that is your foundation and your powder. So after hydrating with the spray, I went in with moisturizer, the Cetaphil moisturizer. Now this moisturizer is a staple in my kit. I use it almost every time because it works on all skin types: sensitive, normal, combination to oily. And then I just blend that in and make sure that the skin absorbs it properly. Now, when you are doing your skin prep, you want to make sure that you apply one product after the other and give it time for your skin to absorb. So after that, I went in with the Omaricode hydrating primer. Now for this look, I wanted the skin to be properly hydrated. So I that is why I stock more with products rather than mattifiers. I did not mattify any areas on her face. I only did hydration. For foundation, I used the Juvias Place foundation and I mixed two different shades. I'm going to include the shades that I used for this look in the description box, so do not forget to check that out. First thing, I went in with applying with a foundation brush, a buffing foundation brush, and I applied in tapping motions. So I always do this first. I go in with the brush first, and later on I go in with a beauty blender. Now when you are doing your foundation, you want to make sure that you are tapping into the skin rather than sliding. So you want to make sure that the foundation is, you're tapping it into the skin rather than sliding it downwards. I don't know if that makes any sense, but if you watch how I'm moving my brush, you can tell what I'm trying to explain here. So for foundation, when you are blending, you blend to the outer corners of the face. So that's the temple area, the jawline, the chin. Now you want to make sure that when you are picking your foundation, you play it safe. Do not go too light or too dark. Now, if you make the mistake of going too dark, you can always brighten up with highlighters. But when you make the mistake of going too light, I feel like you'll have a harder time trying to bring it all back together. Now, after I use the brush, I go in with the beauty blender and I just blend all over. And this, I found out that this gives me a more skin-like finish. And this is my regular routine for whenever I'm applying foundation. Next thing, I went in to contour her face and I used 3 shades darker than her skin tone. And I used foundation here for contouring. I always use foundation because I found foundations easier to blend rather than using contour sticks or concealers. So I used a 3 shade darker foundation and I applied to the hollow of the cheek, her temples, and I connected that to the outer part of her eyes. Now, when you do this, it gives the face a lift. Now, if you see the way I'm applying, you can see how I'm lifting my products because I'm trying to achieve a facelift. Because placement matters a lot. How you place your product determines how the outcome of the entire look is going to come out. So when I'm placing my products, my contours, my the blush, concealer for highlights, I always push upwards. Now you're going to notice that in the course of this video. So next thing, I went into do blush, and for the blush I used a pink and a orange mixture, mixed the both of them together, and I applied that to the highest point of her cheeks. So basically I really take my blush application high, very close to the eye, again like I said earlier, because I am trying to achieve a facelift. So the way I apply my product upwards and not flat on the face, or not straight, but upwards. You can see, if you look closely, you can see how the blush is very, very close to her eyes and also extended up into her temples. For concealer, I used the Yanga Beauty concealer, and I used I think just one shade lighter than her. I did not want my highlights to be too bright. I wanted the entire look to look um, really, really calm and soft. Yeah, soft was what I was trying to achieve here. So I applied that to the under eye, the forehead, the bridge of the nose, the chin, and I blended that with a beauty blender. So I blended that with a beauty blender. And whenever you are blending your products, guys, just take your time. And especially for the under eye, you want to make sure that that area is properly blended, because the under eye tends to have wrinkles, and if products are not well blended on that in that area, then they are going to tend to crease. So when you are blending your other eye, make sure that you blend well with the beauty blender, and go in immediately to set with your setting powder while the model is still looking up, or while the client, or the person that you're working on, is still looking up. So you make sure that they look up and you blend properly like I am doing now. You blend properly, and immediately you blend that under eye, you go into set with your powder. So if you're either using a setting powder or a pressed powder, whichever one. But for this look, I went in straight with a setting powder rather, from Nuban Beauty, and I applied that with a brush. I went in with very like thin layers. And next thing, I went in to use the beauty blender to apply more setting powder under the eye. Now, when if you noticed, I picked the setting powder with the beauty blender, and I dusted off the excess on my palm. So you want to make sure that you're not picking too much products. Less is more, guys. Always remember, less is more. And then I go in to apply the setting powders on the other corners of the face that I applied my concealer to mattify those areas and to set the concealer in place so it doesn't crease over time. Now, this is a very, very important step. Whenever you apply concealers, you go in with setting powders or pressed powders to set in the cream and products that you've applied, so they stay in place and they do not move as time goes on. Next thing, I went in and I applied powder on the other areas of her face. I also used Nuban powder for this step. So I'm just basically applying powder with a powder brush on the other corners of the face that I had not applied the setting powder to. Now for this look, I used almost every product I used were from Nigerian brands. And I can say for a fact, Nigerian brands are really, really raising the bar. And I'm so proud. I'm really, really proud of our brands. They are doing so well. A lot of them. I have a lot of Nigerian brands in my kit, and if you are still sleeping on Nigerian brands, I mean, you have to wake up. Next thing, for contouring, I went in with a to contour, dry contour rather. I had done cream contouring earlier, so I'm going to set that with a powder, three shades also darker than her skin tone, and this is from Vessie Goldsmith. So I'm basically applying this to every area that I applied the cream contour to, the whole of the cheek, the temples, and also extending that to the outer corner of her eye. Now, to achieve the facelift I talked about earlier, it also going to affect how I apply every product. Now, if you see the way I'm applying my contour, I'm also lifting it up just the way I did the dry contouring. Now, this would enable you to get a proper facelift and also snatch the face properly. If you're still not subscribed to my channel, this is a very good time to subscribe. Kindly hit the subscribe button, like, drop a comment, share my video. Next thing for blush, I used a mixture of a pink and an orange blush. Still the same thing I did for the cream blush. I'm also repeating the same placement and the same procedure for the powder blush. So basically, like I said earlier, you apply in like an upward um, motion, so you achieve that facelift, which is what I'm trying to achieve for this look. So if you've been confused on how you should place your blush and your contour, so the formation is your contour goes on the hollow of the cheek, and then your blush sits right up on top of it. So it is contour, blush, then highlighters. I don't know if that makes any sense. So contours under, blush sitting right next to it, and on top the blush you do highlighter. So that is the placement. So next thing, I went in and contoured the corners of her nose with the same powder I used for contouring her face, and I did this as soft as possible. Now remember, I said in the beginning of this video that the look I'm trying to achieve here is a soft glam. I do not want it too heavy. I just want everything looking very, very soft. So hence why I'm very careful about the way I layer and apply my products. For nose contouring, I always like to keep it very, very minimal. I do not like, you have to make sure that, or you want to make sure rather, that the lines are not obvious. I mean, at the end of the day, contouring is basically adding shadow to the face. Now, shadows are not supposed to have like a sharp line, so whatever you're doing, make sure that it is properly blended. Now, guys, look at that skin work. I mean, look at that skin work. Look at the face, look at her neck. Everything is properly blended and well shade matched. Next thing, I'm going in to do the eye work. So what we are doing today is a pigment eye. So something is going to be shiny because it's a bridal look, obviously. So I started off with browns as my base. I went in first to use a brown gel liner, blended that, and I snatched my Annie's Beauty palette and went in with a softer shade of brown. At first, I did not know what I wanted to do when I was creating this eye look. I was just going with the flow at first, and also just waiting for inspiration to come as I go on. And to be very honest, it's like that almost every time. Almost every time, it's not like I always have the eye shadow that I want to create. I do not always have it planned out in my head. Most of the times I just go with the flow, and as I go on, the inspiration just comes and I create. So next thing, I'm just switching from one shade of brown to the other to create dimension and also create structure to the eye. I went in with a darker shade of brown, and then I went into the first shade of brown that I used to blend out the edge of the dark shade of brown to make it so it looks seamless, and then there are no harsh lines. Now I'm just going to continue repeating the process until I have a well blended eyeshadow, and I'll also repeat the same procedures I did for this eye on the other eye. I'm switching from one shades of brown to get the pigmentation that I want and the dimension that I'm trying to achieve. So basically, I'm going with darker browns on the eyelid and softer browns on the crease of the eye. And next in, I'm going in with a charcoal shade from the same Annie's palette. This was the only palette I used for this eye, and I'm just going to apply that to the crease of the eye. Now this is going to give the illusion that that corner of the eye is deeper, so putting a darker shade there will make the eye look deeper. Now as it goes on, you're going to see when she opens the eye, you'll see what I'm talking about later on in the video. Now repeating the same thing for the other eye, went in with the charcoal and applied that to the crease of her eye. Now I'm using a precise blending brush for this so that it gets in, so I'm not the placement is right. Now you want to make sure that you're using a precise blending brush so it gets into the crease of the eye, and I'm just building and layering up to get it darker to the up to the point that I want it to be. And then after that, I'm going to go in with the soft shade of brown and also diffuse and blend that properly. So I extended that to the outer corner of the eye, to also contour the eye. Now that right there is what I was talking about. When she opened the eye just now, you could tell how deep the crease of her eye looked. So I'm going back with the lighter shade of brown, and I'm blending the dark shade away to also diffuse it and make it look more subtle in that corner. I do not want the black to create a harsh line. So this is how you blend your shadows. You just keep going over um, from one shade to the other to diffuse the colors and get a softer appearance on your eyeshadow. Next thing, I went in and I applied the pigment glue to the corner of the eye that I wanted to apply the pigment. So basically, this is exactly on the eyelid, and I'm following a eye shape to apply this. So whichever area I map out is where I'm going to apply my pigments to. And for pigments, I'm using Luster Cosmetics pigments in and Titan and Amber, I think. Titan and Amber, and I'm also mixing that with another pigment from MK Beauty. So I used a gold pigment and I used a silvery pigment. I do not remember the names, guys. I'm going to try to include that in the description box. So basically, what I did was apply the um, amber shade from Luster all over the area that I applied the pigment glue to. And then I went in with the gold and I popped on a little more pigment glue and I applied that to the middle of her eye, applied the gold pigment on top of it, and went in back again with the pigment glue on top of the gold. So I applied just a bit on top of the gold, and then I went in with the silver. Well, I know it might be a lot, but if you just watch closely, you would understand what I'm trying to say. There was just a kind an effect I was trying to achieve when I was doing this eye, and I think you can call it the halo eye effect. So I wanted the middle of the eyeshadow to pop out. So that was why I went in with the gold and then the silver. So you see how the middle is looking lighter than the inner and the outer corners. Next thing, I went in with the precise blending brush. I also went in back with my Annie's Beauty palette and use the charcoal shade to blend out the edges of the pigments, so to take away the harsh lines from the pigments, and also just blend everything together so it looks like one. So for those asking if I do virtual classes or physical classes, I do both. If you want to train with me, kindly follow my page on Instagram and send a message. I take virtual classes and I also take physical classes for beginners, upgrades, and so on and so forth. Now back into the eyeshadow. Next up, I went in with a black eyeshadow from the same Annie's Beauty palette and a smudge brush, and I smudged a bit of black onto her waterline to smoke out that area. Now I always do this when I'm doing my bridal looks. I love the look it gives. If you're still not subscribed, this would be a good time to click the subscribe button, share this video, and drop a comment. Now, if there's any look you would want me to create, you can also drop that in the comment box, and I'll try my very best to do so. Next thing, for brows, I went in with a brow tamer. This is brow tamer from Dammel, and I just tamed the brows. So basically, that will hold the hairs in place and not make it move as time goes on. So next thing, I after I apply the brow tamer, I'll go in with my gel liner and just outline the brows. So when you're doing your brows, you want to make sure that you take your time and do it properly, because this is the part that just defines the entire makeup. I mean, when people look at your face, the first area eyes are drawn to is your brows. So if the brows are looking funny, the other part of the makeup might not be appreciated, even if you got it right. So take your time and outline properly. So basically, what I do is I follow the way the hairs are growing. So I'm not trying to bring another shape of brows into another person's face. So I work with what I have. So the way the hairs are growing on the brows, I just outline, draw an outline on the bottom and on the top parts. Make sure that your brow arch is not too high or not too sharp. So you want to make it look as natural as possible. And then next thing, you start filling in hair like strokes. So it seems like you're just making the hair look darker. It still looks very natural. So it doesn't look very boxed. So what I do is I reduce the intensity of my strokes when I am outlining or filling the inner part of the brows, and then a bit um I go more intense when I'm doing the outer corners of the brow. So when I'm approaching the inner corners of the brows, I reduce the intensity so it looks very natural. And also remember to apply in hair like strokes. Now this is why it's very important that you take your time to draw an outline. So if you do a good job while you're drawing or while you're outlining. Now, when you're using concealers, it's just going to be like a walk in the park. So what you just have to do is just to clean it up. So you're not trying to correct and redraw. So you just clean up and make it pop out more. So take your time and outline. Now I did the lashes and the eyeliner off camera, and now I'm doing her lipstick. So for lip, I applied a brown lip liner. So this was a mixture of um, my brown gel liner and a brown lipstick from Avour Cosmetics. I applied that and I outlined the corners of her lip. And then I went in with I don't know what this color is. I cannot remember. This was from my lip palettes, from the V lip palettes. I think this is like a peach pink coral. I don't know. But I just went in with that, and I next thing I went in with a lighter shade to the inner corner of her lip to blend it all together. So basically for this lip, I also did not have anything in mind. Just for the eye, I just kept going until I achieved the result that I got in the end, and I was just pleased with it. So most times when I'm doing my lipstick application, most times but not every time, I just go in with the flow until it looks good enough for me, or except the client already has have like a memo that she wants me to create. So the gele stylist tied her gele, and then I went in to do the finishing touches on this look. Now you can see how beautiful that gele looks. And next thing, I'm just applying a colored gloss over her lip. So I'm just blending that to every part of her lip. Now, guys, please pardon my lighting. It started raining here, and all of a sudden, my lighting it just went from good to bad. So if you notice, the lighting was a lot better earlier on in the video, and when it started raining, and the whole thing just turned I don't know, it just went left. So please pardon my lighting. So I'm going back with the brown liner to re-outline the corner of her lip again. So this is like a game changer. I feel like when you do this, it just brings the entire lip work back together. It just brings shape again and brings in more depth. So I always do this after I've done gloss. I go in back with the liner and then align or re-outline the corner of her lip. So for the top and then the bottom part. So next thing, I will be going back to dust off the setting powder under the eye. Now when you are doing this, you want to make sure that you are tapping into the skin rather than pushing out. So you just tap in. So it's like a tapping and pushing motion sort of. So tap in and dust off. Now next up, I'm going to re-emphasize the blush. So I just want to pop it out a little more. As we went on, it kind of like settled more into the skin, so I'm just going back with a bit of it to enhance it more. And while I just finish do the finishing touches on this look. Now I hope you've learned a thing or two. I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this look. We're almost done here, and I just want to say thank you. If you watched till this very point, I want to say thank you for sticking till the end. And I hope that you would share this video or drop a comment or like. And yeah. And on that note, guys, we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this look. Now you see how clean this entire makeup look came out to be. The makeup is a 10 over 10. The gele is also on point. This is your cue to book me for your weddings, for your events. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.